What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tay of Failing Forward.
And I'm Nicole from Redefine Your Roots.
And today we did an amazing collaboration, y'all. I can't wait for y'all to see this episode. We touched on everything from mental health, content creation, to the Black experience, and so much more. So make sure y'all tune into the episode and make sure y'all hit that subscribe button on my podcast and hers. I can't wait for y'all to see this. How you doing today?
Honestly?
Yeah, honestly.
Yo, you want the real answer?
I always want the real.
I'm okay.
Why just okay?
I'm in a period of transition right now, so I'm just kind of looking to become a little bit more present with, everything that's kind of going on in my life. And I'm just like, okay,
No, I respect that.
You know what I mean?
And I said, how are you really? Because I feel like a lot of us, we ask people how they doing, but I don't think we be really wanting to know the answer.
Yeah.
So sometimes I even, I tell people I'm good because I think people don't really care that much. So now I'm just trying to get into the practice of like diving deep and asking people like, how are you really doing? Like, no, it's
really
cool.
Doing? Yeah. How are you doing?
Doing a lot better.
Okay.
This past month was super challenging for me. I don't know why. I just felt like the odds was against me.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see me win.
Yeah.
But by the grace of God, I'm bouncing back now. I wrote some things down on paper. I've meditated, and I've just been a lot more intentional about what I want to see happen. So I've gotten this month off to a great start, and I'm just looking forward to October. I think it's going to be real good.
Yes. How long have you been meditating?
I've been meditating for the past 2.5 years, I would say.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Oh, yeah. I started, I would say, officially like 4 to 5 years ago, but I wasn't good. So I actually picked up the practice at a retreat, and I went home and I started to try it, but my mind would just wander all over the place.
Right.
But I remember the instructor told me that was okay as long as you could just keep bringing your thoughts back.
Right.
So I just kept practicing it. At first I was using the Headspace, then I was using the Calm app, but now I use YouTube, or sometimes I meditate in silence. So, I just find a comfortable position, whether I'm on my bed, a couch, or on the floor, tall back. I'm closing my eyes and just channeling like my happy place, loosening up my body so it's not tense. And then I get into it. I typically meditate for like 10 to 20 minutes.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I fall asleep. I'll be knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I have to ease into it. Like, sometimes just even meditating for 3 minutes is like overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For real?
My brain is like, how do you kind of like overcome that?
Honestly, I would say just keep refocusing your thoughts. And a useful tool that I picked up over the years was finding your feet. So your feet are grounded in the present moment. So whenever you find your mind drifting away or you losing focus, literally just find and locate your feet. Or another thing that I do is a body scan. So it's mostly just like bringing the attention back to myself and back to the present moment. Or, if I'm listening to a guided meditation, usually it'll be like an ocean in the background or something, or some birds chirping. So I'll just try to find like the animal or just try to like channel my senses to my environment, and that's the way that I bring it back.
I feel like I've heard about like, using mindfulness practices, and even then it's like when you like tap in to understanding that you are where you are, it actually is like a really trippy feeling.
It's super grounding.
Yo, I was actually just talking to like a few people. We were over and we were talking about, have you ever like looked in the mirror and like stared at yourself?
It's the scariest thing ever.
Like, it's like such a like you get locked in, like, hold up, I'm actually like right here right now, and it like you start getting like tripped out a little bit.
No, most definitely. Like, this really me.
Yeah, it's kind of like that same kind of concept.
What are some of your practices that you do to keep yourself grounded?
I'm a sage burner to the fullest, so you
changed your tone and everything.
Yeah,
You started saying
because I gotta, I like wake up, I burn some sage, I drink some tea, I speak some affirmations into my tea, set my intentions, do that. I pray and I meditate, whether it's just for 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the morning. And I try to journal it out. So in the morning, I usually journal about whatever I'm calling in. And at night, I usually journal about whatever I'm releasing. So just because I just feel like I went through my whole day and like whatever I'm experiencing, I want to like let it go right before bed. And then in the morning, I'm waking up with a new mindset. What am I calling in for the day? So those are some things that I do just from a day-to-day perspective. Yeah.
I do all of that. And I also do a lot of gratitude and affirmations. So every Monday, I start my week off with just asking myself, what are my intentions for this week? I also like to share gratitude each day, and I found that that's something that's really helped my mental health. In our generation, we do a lot of comparison just because of social media. We feel like we're not enough. We feel like we're not where we're supposed to be. You know, a lot of different thoughts. And I found that just being grateful for the little things like my apartment, my car, my degree from school, the fact that I'm able to chase my dreams even though I'm not where I want to be, the fact that I'm even confident and courageous enough to chase my dreams, because I see a lot of people that, you know, are scared to, you know, go on the grind. It's a lonely path. I'm grateful for all of those things. And it's like a nice reset whenever I feel like I'm struggling.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, even like in this period of transition, like just to be like super vulnerable, like I'm moving out of my apartment and I'm trying to figure out, you know, what my next steps are, right? So as I'm doing that, I was like literally in here like cleaning today and I'm like, wow, like Nicole, you moved down here to Atlanta with no job, no money, no plan, and you lived and you manifested this space and you made this space your home and you invited people over, you made friends, all these different things, and like I feel like sometimes I can be a little upset that I'm coming out of this situation, but the fact that I was even in it in the first place, the fact that I was able to sustain myself for this long here, I'm just like, wow, I'm just grateful.
That's admirable, and you should be very proud of yourself. Like, sometimes I have moments where I'll be like, yo, I'm really in Atlanta. Like I'm out here by myself. Like, I did this. Like,
what's up? Y'all can't tell me nothing.
So you should definitely be proud of yourself. And I said it, I wanted to dive deep today, right?
Yeah, so let's get in there.
I had a question for you. And basically, you recently celebrated a birthday.
Yes.
And first and foremost, happy birthday.
Thank you. Virgo gang.
And on that day, you decided to do something very different. You decided to post something on social media that was very vulnerable and very transparent. And I want to be very honest right now in saying that initially, when I first saw it, I was a little confused by the video. And I was confused because only a couple days before your video, I saw another really popular influencer. His name is Carlos D. Harris. He's a blogger.
Carlos. Oh, yes, I know Carlos.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. He's like
he's really good.
Yeah.
He does like the vlogs. He posted a video, and it was very similar. It was supposed to be an empowering video, and he started crying. He was also sweating. And for me, looking at the video, I'm like, this guy is not okay.
Yeah.
And a part of me wasn't okay on the inside. I was like uncomfortable, and I was wrestling with that thought. I'm like, why am I uncomfortable digesting this? And the more I thought about it, one thing that came to mind is I'm not used to seeing black men or even black people, you know, cry or be that vulnerable in public spaces. And then the second thing I was wrestling with, like, is social media the forum for this types of content? Okay. And then I was like,
that's a great conversation.
Why is it not? You know, we post everything else on here. We post where we at, what we doing, the new thing we got from the store, but nobody's posting, you know, the challenges or the issues. And I think that was the overall point of your video. So I just wanted to ask you, why did you post that, and what were you hoping came across?
Ooh. So I guess for context, y'all, if y'all haven't seen the video, it's probably like a 4-minute video. That whole video is probably like 15 minutes long.
Right.
Doing all of that in the car. You know, and it's funny. I don't want to say it's funny to look back at now, but I really, you know, in moments when I feel good and in moments when I feel low, I just record myself. That's just something that I feel like I just observe other people all day long. Why can't I observe myself? What are my habits? What do I do from a day-to-day perspective? How can I look back at it and be like, okay, that's what I was doing. That's what I'm doing now. Look how much I've grown. Beautiful. Right? So I took that video actually in like January. That was January 1st, and I was going through it. And I remember like hearing from people like, Nicole, you're doing such an amazing job. I'm so proud of you. Like, you're killing it. You are just like, I look up to you. One, that's a beautiful thing. But it's also a lot of pressure because on the back end, I'm like struggling in all realms. Like, you know, physically, I wasn't working out. Mentally, I wasn't taking care of my mind. Emotionally, I felt disconnected from my, you know, the people around me. Financially, I was struggling. Like, and I was just like, I just felt all that pressure on me, and I didn't know what to do and what to come out of it. And, you know, a few days before I posted that, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Raven Jackson, but So
Rest
that
in
whole,
peace.
yeah, rest in peace to her and bless her heart and her soul and her spirit. But, you know, when I read those messages, like, like so much came out of me because I'm still like in this period right now where yes, I'm doing better, but I'm also still not where I'm trying to be at, right? And like every day you're kind of like fighting yourself, you're fighting your mind, you're fighting, you know, like that imposter syndrome, just like those negative voices in your head or negative voices you're physically seeing in your
Right.
comment section, in your DMs. You know what I'm saying? Like you're putting yourself out in the public all day long for people to perceive you however. And after I just kind of saw those messages, like you would have thought she was the happiest person in the world, right? And I'm like, and then like after that whole situation happened, it's like everybody's like, well, I didn't know. Nobody knew. Like nobody knew. And I feel like we're not creating these spaces for people to be honest. Like we go on the internet, everything is fake.
For sure.
Everything is fake. Everything is fake. Like
and not to cut you off, but
no,
like
yeah.
that's one of my greatest struggles with social media right now and being a content creator, being an influencer is because I'm so authentic. So like I see people doing certain trends and like riding certain waves to be consistent. And I'm like, how do I be consistent while channeling my authentic self to my followers and my supporters? I'm just trying to find my balance of like, what feels the most authentic? What feels natural to me? I don't live in a luxury high-rise apartment. I don't have the most money. I can't travel all the time. I might travel once or twice a year. So where is the space for, if that, where is the space for the content creators that aren't living this luxurious lifestyle? And that's probably been my biggest obstacle to staying consistent. And it's something I think about all the time. Is just like, how can I channel more of my authentic self? And then the types of content that I post, it's heavy, it's dense, it's mental health related, it's very vulnerable, it's very transparent, it's real stuff. So like,
and I think a part of it is that you don't need all of that. Like, you know, not to bring you back to this transition, but I'm just like in this space where like everything is happening at once. Like luxury is like having things, like tangible things that could get messed up and like broken. Like you don't need that stuff. Like right now, I'm just worried about where I'm not worried. I'm going to change my wording. I'm really focused on, you know, moving into the right path for me that is going to propel me to wherever I'm trying to go, right? And I'm transitioning out of this space. Everything I have in here is stuff. I don't need it. Where am I going? What am I doing next? Like that's my thought process. And I feel like a lot of the times when you're looking at social media and you're looking at social platforms, people just have stuff and they're just so addicted to sharing their stuff. They're not sharing like the realness that comes behind it. Like I'm moving out of this apartment. I could be taking all of my stuff with me, but what is that stuff holding? What type of energy is that holding? I'm trying to elevate to higher heights, but whatever I have in here, is that really aligned with wherever I'm trying to go? Is that gonna, you know, really call in peace within my spirit? So I think it's a little challenging to look at social media as a reflection of what you feel like you deserve or need to succeed.
Most definitely. And I think one of the biggest realizations I've come to in my young adult years is that luxury can be whatever you value and whatever you place importance on. So to me, luxury could be family. Luxury is friends. I think to have good friends, that's a luxury. That's rare in this world because it's hard to come across really good people. So when I think of words like wealth or, you know, luxury or being rich, I've kind of just like added my own meanings and interpretations to them because I'm a thinker and I'm just that type of person. And I think more people should do that. I think it just, you know, sometimes you got to rewire your thoughts because we're human and it's like natural to compare yourself sometimes. Like it don't matter how many affirmations you do. It don't matter how much you journal. It don't matter just how sure of yourself you think you are. We have those moments, but I think it's just important to have those, you know, tools in your toolbox like that you can go to in those times where, you know, doubting yourself and, you know, you feeling low on self-esteem.
No, I love that. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I feel like, you know, as I transitioned down here to Atlanta, you know, one of the things that I really didn't have were friends, right? Or family. I don't have people down here.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to call in, you know, genuine people, I feel like that's so beautiful. And I've noticed because I was living out of a place where I didn't have that and I solely relied on myself for so long, it's hard for me to even like embrace the luxury of having friends, right? Because I'm so used to living from this like solo perspective, right? And what comes with that? Like what kind of trauma do you have to unpack while you're now trying to tap into these luxuries that you feel like you want, right?
Right.
So I think that's interesting.
So I want to go back to that question though. You still ain't tell me.
What was the question?
You still ain't tell me what were you hoping came across. What was the main message?
Out of that video?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel like I kind of said it. Well,
you may have answered it indirectly.
I may have answered it indirectly. I think it's really just going back to like, man, life is hard. Right. I'm talking to the camera. Life is hard, and every day we are put on this earth to show up authentically within ourselves. And there's a lot of pressure to show up as someone else. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure to, need and want more. And I think with that video, I know with that video, a lot of the times people feel really alone. I felt alone. Yeah. Sometimes I still feel alone. And I feel like me going on social media at this current space in my life, just posting whatever, isn't authentic to me. And I just know that people are generally out here hurting. Yeah. I'm hurting, right? You're hurting to whatever capacity, whether you're sharing it or not. There's things that we're constantly trying to work through. So through that video, I was just trying to express like we're all human, yo. No matter how much you see me posting consistently on the internet, how many times you look at my videos and you're like, oh my God, I really love what she does. Like you look at me, you see happiness. Like that's not my overall being. Right. And like I want you to also understand that doesn't need to be your overall being too. Like the sadness in you, the anxiety, the depression in you is also as, I don't want to say good, but it's also as valuable to
the human experience.
Understand, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's important. I think I was about to ask you a question like, what is the balance between, giving people some of that authentic content, but also, being that happy person that they've come to know and love. But I think the answer is just being you and just showing up authentically, and whatever feels natural and innate, that's what you do. It's not something that you should think too hard about. Of course you want to maintain some level of privacy in your life, but what you feel comfortable sharing, it shouldn't be like anything that you have to think about. It's just building an organic, support base based off of being genuine and being true to yourself.
Yeah, and I actually have like mixed thoughts on that because I do think that even though I shared that moment, I want people to see, real emotions and authenticity, but I think it really comes back to intention. Yeah. Because sometimes I can see somebody else like get a little upset on the internet, and it doesn't trigger me the way that I feel like it's supposed to trigger me. Like it makes me a little bit more irritated than I'm feeling the sadness along with them. And it's like why, right? And it goes back to like you're living this luxurious lifestyle. What are you crying for? Yeah. Like things like that. So I feel like I really try to listen to people for what they're saying, rather than what they're saying that they're feeling. Right. If that makes sense. Like, what type of actions are you displaying along with however you're relaying your emotion? I feel like I try to
I get what you're saying. If
that even makes sense. Cut that out.
But there was another part of the video that I wanted to talk about, and it was basically about this concept of being like a starving artist. I feel like that was another theme and concept that was brought about through that video. And if you don't know what a starving artist is, it's basically when you dedicate your life to like your craft or your art or, some level of passion of yours. And a lot of times you're doing this with like minimal funds, minimal resources, minimal support. So I want you to talk about that. Like, what does that concept mean to you about being a starving artist, and how hard is it to do what you do, to do what I did, to move to a new city, not knowing anybody, to invest in your craft, buy all of this equipment that we have to bring this content to you all. Like, talk about what it's really like behind the scenes.
Ooh, and I want to hear your perspective on that, too. Yeah, I think it really goes back to, like, mental health. because I feel like in order to really succeed in anything that you do, you have to have grit to be able to work through those low moments, right? And I feel like I don't want to even say that I'm a starving artist, because I'm not. I'm just someone that is working towards wherever I'm trying to get to. And I'm doing it every day, and I'm showing up every day, and I eat every day, and I have a roof over my head. I'm good. Like,
it's not literal. It's not saying you poor, but
like literally, I was literally just watching something like 10 minutes before you got here, and it was saying something as simple as saying as I'm starving, saying something as simple as saying like I have this blistering headache. Like, you acknowledging your experience that graphically is like creating energy in your body, and like also creating your reality, because you're saying how you feel. Like, so I don't want to acknowledge it as me being a starving audience, even though it's not literal. Nothing, everything is not literal.
Right.
So I just feel like for me, when it comes to trying to really focus on what I'm trying to do and grow and evolve, you're going to be tested. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to continue to grow? How bad do you want to continue to invest in what you really want to do? How passionate are you about it? Because I'm still trying to understand that whole concept of work versus play, being responsible versus calling in your manifestations and only doing exactly what aligns with whatever you're calling in. Like me trying to see the bigger picture, but also being able to show it from a daily perspective. So it's challenging because you have to acknowledge all of those things at once and also make decisions moment by moment while still acknowledging what you're trying to do. So it's overwhelming, and I just feel like me posting that video is me trying to share that it's overwhelming. Like, it's something that I constantly think about. Like, oh my gosh, I can't celebrate myself right now because I don't got money for that.
Right.
Like, bills are due.
Yeah.
Like
rent during the first.
Yeah.
Every month.
So I think it really goes back to like what we were talking about in the beginning, and like what are those like little luxuries that what are we calling in? Because a luxury is a luxury, right? Like, yeah, I might not be able to go out to eat tonight, but wow, I just sit and prayed and meditated in this warm apartment.
And that's something to be grateful for and to be proud of. If I had to answer the same question, I would just say it's hard. It's definitely a challenge. Just to even get to Atlanta, I had to sacrifice so much. Like, I couldn't go out with my friends. I couldn't take the trips. I couldn't go to the club. I couldn't go out to eat. And I would tell my friends, like, no, like, I'm trying to go to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if my family and friends thought I was joking until I told them, like, yo, this is my move-in date. Like, I'm leaving. I want to see y'all all before I leave. And I think that's when it hit them, like, yo, he really doing this. Like, nobody in my family has relocated like that on their own. I never seen none of my friends do it, but it was something that I wanted to do for me because I felt like it would bring me a level of peace. I definitely felt like I had outgrown Philly in a lot of ways, and also with a lot of things I feel like I was trying to escape, and I felt like going to a new city would give me the opportunity to live life on my own terms and like rewrite my narrative. So it comes with a price. I had to invest a lot in myself, literally and figuratively. To buy these cameras, to buy these tripods, to buy these lights. A camera, that's a vacation.
That's a whole
vacation. $1,000 you paying. To learn how to edit and produce your own stuff. Hours of YouTube videos, trying to learn Final Cut Pro, trying to learn iMovie, trying to learn all this equipment that I'm using. And I see my friends every time I log on Instagram or when I'm going out, I hear my friends and see my friends doing all of these things, and I'm just like, I'm in here learning. But I think what keeps me going is my love and passion for what I do. It don't feel like work. Sometimes I get lost in editing to where I don't even eat. I'll be editing on my computer for 8 hours of the day. And the joy that I get from like publishing a product and just seeing like people's reactions to it, that is very fulfilling because I feel like my life's purpose is to help a lot of people. So that's what keeps me going, but I ain't gonna lie to say it ain't hard. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I do wish I had more finances just to be able to exercise my vision more creatively. Mm-hmm. Right now I shoot out of my apartment. I would love to shoot in a studio. It's like little things like that. But I feel like these growing pains that I'm experiencing right now is very humbling. And I feel like if I can appreciate where I'm at now, when that time comes where I do have greater, because I do believe it'll get greater later, I feel like I'll be able to enjoy that even more, and my character will be so much stronger and better because of what I endured now. So that's how I look at everything.
Yeah. And also be thinking about like when, like the other day I was recording a podcast episode in there by myself and my friend was here and I'm like, put your headphones on, don't listen to me. And they're like, what? Like, I'm so used to doing all these things by myself. Right? So that if I had an audience or a team to help me, like y'all would have to sit there and listen to me while I talk.
Right.
So like something as small as me doing the podcast episode in here and having one person stand right there, like that is propelling me to wherever I'm trying to go.
Real.
How am I going to ask for a whole studio set up somewhere and I could barely talk with someone in the room?
Right.
You know? So I be thinking about little things like that while
that's not little, it's huge. Like, just to even do an intro to my podcast, like I mess up 100 times, or like even getting used to being on camera, it's challenging. This past year, I made a vow to myself. Like, I would always do story rants on my Instagram.
Okay.
So I would do black posts and I would just share my thoughts.
You have
and
been
my
doing
friend, I do that a lot.
Yeah,
my friends and family, they always like, yo, this is so good. But you know, a story, it disappears after 24 hours. And I remember one day it clicked. One of my friends, he was like, bro, he was like, I took this video and he was like, I put it on my wallpaper on my phone. I look at it every day when I wake up. And I was like, why am I so scared to talk on camera and to publish these videos on Instagram? And it was because I was very insecure about that. I was insecure with myself internally. Like, I'm the guy, I come from the hood, I got tattoos, I got locks, but I also went to University of Penn. I went to an Ivy League school. So I got this life of where I come from, and then I got this trajectory of where I'm going, and just trying to be comfortable in my own skin of like, I don't fit a single archetype. You can't label me as, oh, he's the Greek guy, oh, he's the athlete, or he's the rapper. And no disrespect to any of those guys, but I had to realize that I'm a person that has duality, and I think all of us do if we really tap into those other parts of ourselves. And I'm one of them people that digs deep. So like, if I want to share a poem that I wrote, I'm going to share it. If I want to do a podcast, I'm going to do it. If I want to write a song and put it out, I might just do it. And I feel like I'm talented enough in all those areas. I think for me, it was just about being comfortable in my own skin. And I went to therapy, and I think my therapist really helped me overcome that. And I remember one thing that he told me was, you can't begin the process of loving yourself until you accept yourself. Ooh. So I see a lot of people preaching self-love, 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 but I didn't accept myself. I ain't like my self-image. I wasn't comfortable in my skin. And because of that, I used to be scared to talk on camera and post these videos to Instagram. I would feel like if I posted something and it didn't get a certain amount of comments or views, I would delete it in 30 minutes. Right. So that day when my friend told me that, I was like, you know what, bro? I was like, the next time you see me do a story rant, I'm like, I want you to DM me and tell me to make a video saying the same thing. And he was like, all right, bro, I'm going to hold you accountable. But it got to the point where he never even had to do it because I had built myself up to a point where I'm like, this is what I want to do and this is where I want to go. So in order to get there, I got to get out of my own way. And I think as creators, just as people, once you can get out of your own way when it comes to work or anything creative or whatever your craft is, I think that's when you can produce at your highest capacity. So.
Right. What type of things do you feel like you have to align with as a creator, but also have to acknowledge as a black man on social media?
Yo, that is a tough question. And I'm going to try my best to answer this to the best of my ability, but as a black man, I'm very conscious of what that represents. Before we turned the camera on, we talked about a lot of podcasts today and what they represent. We see a lot of misogynistic, comments. We see like a lot of thoughts that are rooted in patriarchal thinking. We see a lot of sexism. We see a lot of racism. We see a lot of things. And I'm grateful that I went to school for what I went to school for, because I learned how to deal with people interpersonally. I feel like I'm empathetic.
What did you go to school for?
I went to school for clinical social work.
Okay, nice.
So I thought I wanted to be a therapist, but I realized that stuff is a little too heavy.
But this is like therapy.
It is. I feel like I do therapy in my own ways.
Yes,
so
it's love.
I feel like because of what I went to school for, it helped me to be in tune with people. Amongst my friends, I get called politically correct a lot of times because I just try to understand. And I feel like no matter if you black, white, Indian, Asian, whatever it is, we are all team human at the end of the day. So in being a black man, I know what I come from. I know the responsibility that I have. I want to be a leader, and that don't mean that I'm always going to do everything right, because I'd be lying if I said I don't be making no mistakes. But I just try to lead a life of intention, and I think that's why I named my podcast Failing Forward, because I just want to show people that I would rather mess up trying to do something purely and genuinely than to be out here with no moral compass or no integrity, just doing stuff just to do it to get to where I want to be. So another reason that I named my podcast that is because I consider it like my own rebuttal to cancel culture.
Okay.
I always say that I don't really believe in cancel culture. Of course, you know, in certain instances, you know, people do need to be chastised for wrongdoings, but I feel like life is messy, and if it's one thing I learned as I got older, life is messy, and I feel like as kids, I could quote a bunch of things that I said, I'll never do this, I'll never, blah, blah, blah. You know, you judge people and you say all these things, and as I got older, I found myself in those positions making those same mistakes.
Right.
And I think the beauty of life is that for as long as you're alive, you get a chance to do it over again. So I feel like I'm one of those people, I'm conscious about what I do out here and what I represent. I just try my best to learn from my mistakes and just do better. You know, they say, like, if you know better, you do better. So in learning those lessons, I just try to share it to young black men, black women, black peoples, and black families, because that's what I care about the most. Like, I could talk about black family dynamics all day long, but I don't take my position as a black man lightly. I know that it comes with a lot of responsibility, even being a content creator. That's why I'm so conscious about what I say and like what I do. And I know that a lot of people might not understand that. Maybe I know it's things that, you know, people tried to give me advice on, and I had to be in the right position or at the right stage of life to be able to understand it. So when I put out content, I try to make the kind of content that, you know, if something happened to me today or tomorrow and people take a deep dive into everything that I say, everything that I've done, I want to be proud of the contributions I've made, and I want people to be able to be like, yo, this was like a real person that was trying to like help people and like change lives. So I respect everybody that do what they do. I know my mission, and I know what I feel like my purpose is. And like I said, I just want to show people that you don't have to be afraid to fail. I feel like that's the thing that's holding a lot of people back from moving to a different city or, you know, charting out the path to become a content creator or whatever their dream is. They don't want to disappoint people. They scared of what people going to think. And it's like, you never going to know until you just get out there and do it, and you just mess up along the way. But you got to just fall in love with the process of getting better. And that's something that I've learned to do. And I feel like that's the only remedy to success, is really just to get out here and do it. Fall in love with the process. Don't care about how you look. Don't care about what they saying. Don't be afraid to mess up, because for every mess up is something that you're going to learn. And if you're a spiritual person like myself, you just use that as a part of your testimony to help somebody else. So that's Failing Forward. That's how I feel about my platform and what I strive to achieve through that. And that's how I feel about, you know, the responsibility that I have as a black man out here, you know, trying to lead other people or trying to help other people.
Do you ever feel pressure to be in line with things outside of that whole mission?
All the time.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you combat that?
It's hard. I just say, like, I love my family and my friends. I rant all the time. I'm not afraid to reach out and ask for help. When I was at Temple, it's funny, I was in student government, and I remember this lady, she gave me this long talk about the power of advocacy. She was like, y'all the next generation. She was like, y'all got to advocate for yourself. And, you know, you got to stand up for what you believe in. And since then, with the help of therapy and different mentors, I just reach out for help. So the people in my life, I talk to them a lot, and I'm very vulnerable and transparent about what I'm going through. And I think they are the people that empower me and give me the courage to, like, you know, fight through some of these pressures that I see. I couldn't do it without them. So I would really just say the strength of my community.
Did you ever, like, get pushback when you were trying to express yourself? Like, because I feel like in the beginning phases of me trying to become more vulnerable, I was being met with a lot of, like, manipulation and gaslighting and whatever you're feeling isn't real, get over it. Like, do you ever feel like or did you ever feel like you experienced that throughout your process of getting to this point?
I lost friends. I lost friends because of it. I started speaking a whole different language. When you go to therapy and you having intentional conversations with your family and you taking a conscious look at who you are. We talked earlier about looking at yourself in the mirror, and once you start doing that, you ain't gonna be the same no more. So it might be people that you grew up with and whatever the case may be. And once you start talking different, they start looking at you different. Like, who do you think you are? You weird? I've heard friends say that to me. Like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I thought your content was a little weird. Like, I'm like, dang, these people I love, and they telling me that. So, I've definitely like lost friends from how I'm talking now, but I would say my family was always with me. I got some good people in my life, like some great mentors, and they never push back. Like, so I could say from my mentors and my family members, people that raised me, I never got pushed back. It was more so from my peers, and I feel like I could deal with that. As long as I got my family, I feel like I'm good.
That's love.
How about you?
What was the question? I asked a whole bunch of questions. I'm like, what did I even
Have you ever got pushback? Or how do you deal with the pressure that comes with it?
I'll start with the pressure. So I definitely feel like as a Black woman, I have to show up in a hard way at times. Like, there's a lot of pressure to, you know, just be okay all the time. Like, even me posting that video, I feel like I'm not really someone that shares my emotions, like, even like with my friends. So, like, for me to, like, post things like that, it's like, I feel like I'm going against the grain of whatever, you know, society feels like I should show up as.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, for me, it can be really challenging to not, you know, fake it till I make it and just be as authentic as possible. Just because it really comes down to, like, really embracing who you are and where you're trying to go, and, you know, the different, like, opportunities that come along with that, and me not changing who I am, so just so I could get those opportunities.
Right.
So there is a lot of pressure to do that, especially because, you know, like, I'm a fully clothed,
oh yeah,
you know, queer Black, Jamaican Black woman. So, like, how I'm showing up, I already got 3 targets against me, you know, Black, queer, and a woman. So, like, what does that mean for me? So
triple minority.
Yeah, like, so there's just a lot of pressure to that capacity. So I think that's probably my biggest struggle with showing up within that realm. But I feel like it's also very empowering because you don't really see a lot of people that are Black, queer, and, you know, trying to do this and trying to be a voice for people and trying to talk about things that we don't talk about within our community. So it feels really powerful. Even though there is pressure, it's also power. And
that's something that I didn't think about, but I thought about when you were just speaking. But it's a caveat to that, to being that person, because you are in a niche space. It's not many like you. It's not many people are doing what you're doing. A lot of people rely on you in a certain way that is heavy and that's tiresome. I realized that it's not a lot of Black men that are in touch with their feelings, that are vulnerable and transparent in this way. So a lot of people be wanting to have these super in-depth conversations with me in the DMs and in my messages. And I feel like I'm the therapist to my family members and to a lot of people in my life. And that weight is heavy. So I think that's probably my biggest obstacle right now, is learning how to set boundaries in my life and knowing that I can't be everything to everybody, no matter how much I want to help. Some days I sit in my apartment and I'm just spread so thin because people see me as this figure, and it's like almost they feel like you know all the answers in your life, so like of course you got space, or of course you got the capacity to help me. And it's just hard. I've even had friends that say, you know, just being more conscious of colorism in our community. I've had people say a lot of things to me over the years, like, you only get this much support because you light skin or this or that. And I've even had friends tell me things like, Tay, we ain't think you had problems because everybody treats you good. And I was like, bro, help me. Like, I need help too. Like, help. Like, I don't know what it looked like on social media, but I'm telling y'all what it is. And I found myself having to always have that conversation at certain moments with my friends. Like, bro, it's not what it looked like on social media. I look at this like a professional realm of my life. I'm like, call me, check on me too. Like, I need help too. Like, show me support. Now, I'm conscious of all these things, but I think I'm glad that I'm the way that I am willing to get on a grassroots level and have these conversations with my friends. Like, yo, today I'm not well. Like, I need you to be there for me.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is just, like, really just asking.
Yeah.
And then allowing the chips to fall where they fall. Because, You know, I feel like the old me would get so mad. Nobody's helping me.
Yeah.
Nobody's caring for me. Nobody's calling me to check in. All these different things. But when they're calling me to check in, I'm telling them that I'm good.
Right.
So what do they need to continue to check in on me for? Or to whatever depth. So I started to really be honest about how I felt, right? And then either people would start tapping in, Nicole, okay, how are you? How you doing? Checking in every day. You sounding a little, I don't know about you. You good over there? Or people will kind of like, I don't want to say egg you on or egg you deeper into that feeling, but you'll see, like, you get off the phone with somebody after talking about something that you're going through, do you feel worse or do you feel a little bit more at ease and at peace and you came back to yourself? Like, that's something that I really had to start checking in, and I feel like that came with conversations and being honest and having just straight up boundaries, like, you know.
I feel like the greatest shift happened in my life through therapy, and I know I referenced it a couple times, but my therapist was just that good. A black queer man, but he was phenomenal. Like, I feel like he taught me so much. I think I used to be a person that just shut down, or I used to feel like I got to go through everything alone. And I am strong, and I think I've built this image of myself up, and that's why my family and my friends look at me the way that they do. So part of it is me, but I think what really changed that, because I used to think something was wrong with me. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I like this? My therapist was the first person that honored those feelings and those actions, and he told me, like, you were doing this out of survival. You were protecting yourself, and based on what I'm hearing from your life, you had to be this way to navigate your environment to become all that you became. My mom, she had me at 16 years old. My father was never in my life. I was raised by my grandmother in Southwest Philly. I struggle with the thoughts of, like, not knowing my parents, and anybody that know Philly is a grimy and a tough city. My family was poor. So for me to make it out, to be able to go to a Temple or to be able to go to a University of Penn, to go to Ivy League school, like, it took a certain level of focus and dedication. And for him to, like, honor and affirm that, like, I felt seen, like, for one of the very first times in my life. And he just gave me the tools and the language to speak up and ask for help and support when I needed it. But I think once I learned that, yo, it was okay. Like, you had to do this to navigate your environment. Like, it wasn't easy. You've been through a lot. Just hearing those words, it was like layers of just pain and trauma just was like taking off my back. So, like, I was so grateful for that experience. And I think that made all the difference to when I started to confidently and consistently open up and express myself and advocate for the things that I needed.
Right. Or one of the questions when I first started therapy that she asked me, she was saying, like, so how do you feel about that? And I'm just like, I just feel, I don't feel, I don't get mad. I don't get angry. Like, those were one of the first things that I said. And my therapist was like, red flag, what you mean you don't get mad? What you mean you don't get angry?
Right.
And I feel like because of that, like, going back to me being having to be a hard woman all the time, and just kind of like having to be cool about things. I don't get upset because I'm not allowed to be upset.
Right.
So once I started unpacking that and, like, kind of taking away all that societal pressure and that, like, internal trauma of however I'm supposed to be showing up within my experience, that was so validating.
Yeah.
Just going back to what you're saying, like,
a lot of times you just need somebody to affirm your experience. And a lot of times in black households, I'll speak from my household in general. I come from a West African family. You are Caribbean, so I'm sure you understand. A lot of times it's tough, and I feel like our family members don't really have those social emotional tools to be able to support us in all the ways that we need to affirm our experience, because their experience might have been 10 times more challenging. So they're trying to prepare us for success in this world here in America. And a lot of times that looks like, it looks more on the rough side, more on the tough side, tough love as they would call it. But sometimes you do just need somebody to just see you and not tell you that,
this is what you can
man
do
up,
better.
Boys don't cry. All of these things that we hear and internalize growing up. Sometimes you just need somebody to say, yo, that was hard. Like, really, like, I understand your experience. Like, you are entitled to feel this way. And it seems like that was big for both of us. So I want to ask you, how has your mental health journey influenced your content creation process? You have a podcast called Redefine Your Roots, and I'm sure that title has layers. So
I actually started my podcast because I was so depressed. I was getting out of a relationship, I guess, whatever that was. Y'all know how that goes.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I had started my therapy journey. I got into this relationship and I felt like, why is it still not working? Why can I still not, like, why can't people still connect with me? And then it started turning into like this, like something's wrong with me because, you know, I can't connect to that capacity. And then I started understanding how that in itself is a trauma response. Because now I'm trying to prove that whatever I have to offer should be like loved, or you know, y'all know what I mean. So I started that podcast because of that, and I feel like, you know, I really wanted to connect deeper with people because I feel like I just wanted to start tapping into real conversations. There's no way that I'm the only person on this planet that is feeling the way that I feel.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to just understand, like, and I feel like by understanding, I'm hearing people about their experiences. What are they doing? How are you feeling today? Like, are you good? What, like, you know what I'm saying? Are you really okay? And when you really ask people that question and really listen to them, like, you can start making changes within yourself about how you're showing up, you know? So that's kind of like why I started it and what it's.
How has your culture influenced the person that you are today, and how has it shaped a lot of the ideas that you're trying to unpack through your podcast?
Culture. So I'm going to take the route of, so I'm coming out of the fitness industry. And I feel like one thing that I really struggled with within the fitness industry was my body. So just like body dysmorphia, feeling like I needed to look a certain way in order for me to attract whoever I was trying to attract. Then it started getting really toxic. Like, I was overeating or undereating or like working out 7 days a week, 2 times a day, just going hard. If y'all follow me back in the, you know, y'all know that I
used to see that.
I was picking up 400, squatting 400. Where we going? What we doing?
This was before the podcast.
Yes. Is this what y'all need to believe for you to accept my love? Going back to that whole concept, right? So I feel like, you know, going back to social media and how that influences how you think and how you feel like you need to show up. So I felt like culture on that platform can be very toxic because it makes you feel like you need to be a different way, whether it's like physically, you need to be a different way, whether it's like your actual setting in your environment. You need to be a different way with your friends. Are you going out to lounges and bars and drinking every Saturday? Like, you know, like, you don't have that, there's no way you can be happy. So I think the culture really like impacted me from that capacity. Like, it really forced me to evaluate what I felt like was valuable to me. So, you know, coming out of fitness, I was just like, okay, like I love my body. I'm taking care of my body. You know, I try to eat more. I'm working back in to get back into working out. But you know, there's not pressure to squat 700 pounds just to prove that I'm worthy of you, you know? Right.
And that's a trauma response too. I actually was just talking to one of my homeboys about this, and believe it or not, hetero men struggle with that too. One of my homies was talking about women, and he was just saying, like, I feel like I got to hit these certain metrics before I could even play the dating field, whether it's financial, whether it's physical, whether it's social. And I was like, bro, I don't know if anybody ever said this to you, but I'm like, bro, you worthy as is, man. I'm like, this is something I had to learn for myself. I used to feel the same way, but I'm like, I had to learn, like, I'm worthy of love just because, like, just as a human, just because I exist, I am worthy and deserving of love. I come from a family where we're not the most affectionate. We show our love by what we do and what we provide for you. So the light's on, you got food, you got clothes, you got shoes, you got what you need to make it day to day. That is how I express my love to you. You loved. But in terms of somebody coming up to you saying, I love you, I'm proud of you, I hear you, I see you, that was lacking. So that built up this person where I felt like I had to strive for perfection in every area of my life just to feel worthy of love. And that was something I had to unpack with a therapist too. Like, why do I feel this way? In a lot of African cultures, you could ask anybody, if you're not striving to become a doctor, a lawyer, or someone of high prestige, a lot of times you are looked at as a failure amongst your family. It wasn't until I graduated from the University of Penn where I heard my grandma, like, one of the first times say, like, I'm proud of you. And that was one of the most emotional days of my life because I was like, damn.
Wow, I didn't even know I needed that.
I'm 24, 25?
Right.
And I'm just now hearing this, and, like, it broke me down. I was like, damn, like, yo, like, this crazy. And it was that moment when I unpacked that with my therapist. He was like, yo, you worthy of love just because. And, you know, I started that whole self-love journey. That's why I said my affirmations, the first thing I said when we started was, I'm worthy. Because I got to tell myself that every day, every week, like, I'm worthy. I am enough. Just reminding myself of that first. And that changed the energy that I go out into the world with. I ain't looking for nobody to, you know, love me or,
anything
you know,
more.
Right. This is me. Like, not to say that I ain't changed in certain ways about myself, but I'm saying basically what you see is what you get. Like, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to love myself. And I told him, like, bro, you worthy. You don't got to make that money. You don't got to do this. I'm like, all of that stuff would be great, but do it because you want to be better in those areas, not because you feel like it'll make you more valuable societally.
Even from the concept of relationships, so, you know, how are you identifying those things that you're trying to grow into and also being present with who you are right now? Because I feel like I've been in relationships before, you know, whether it's intimate or platonic, where they're like, you know, I've talked about this on a podcast episode before, like, you know, just kind of being with someone for their potential. I see a lot of greatness in you, but, you know, where you're at right now isn't really giving what it's supposed to give, but I'm going to be here and stick around until you're there. And I think that pressure in itself holds you back to wherever you're trying to go because you're so hyper-focused on the fact that you're not there, and you're so hyper-focused on getting this love from somebody that's not even loving you for who you are right now, right? So I feel like that's something that, you know, everybody should be kind of mindful of too. Like, yes, embrace who you are. Yes, focus on wherever you're trying to go, but like also be mindful of the people in your life that are only focused on where you're going and not where you are right now. You know?
Oh, that's deep. And before I met my girl, I was in a relationship like that, and I remember at one point I said to this person, I was like, yo, I feel like the devil sent you to destroy me. Like, that's how heavy it was. I'm like, yo, I feel like you trying to literally destroy me.
That's a real thing.
Because I felt like it was no pleasing that person. Like, no matter how many efforts I made or what I was, like, I was never going to be enough to that person. And I had to realize that and get out of that situation. I loved myself too much. I know my worth. I was like, yo, it's not for me. You're a great individual. I admire everything that you're doing out here, but like, I'm just not going to live in that state where I feel like I'm walking on eggshells or I got to strive to be great in all these areas just to be able to sit alongside you. Like,
and that goes back to the whole pressure of like your whole upbringing of like your parents never saying you're worthy and you're enough and I love you, because you're grinding, you're doing the best that you can. We're Philly, you in the hood, you're trying to get out the mud, all these different things. And you're not hearing any of that. And you're presently in this moment where you're trying to get it out the mud, you're trying to start this podcast, you're trying to grow, you're trying to elevate, you're trying to balance work and life and all these different things, and you're still not hearing, I love you, you are worthy. You're like, wow, I'm perpetuating my own trauma right now.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Like, wow. Like, it's,
and it's funny how, like,
crazy.
A lot of the things that we hate within ourselves or within our parents or within our community, a lot of times we end up doing a lot of those same things or becoming a lot of those same things that we dislike about our environment or about ourselves. It's kind of like scary how that happens.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think it's inevitable though, and it's just a matter of you being mindful that it's happening. And every time you check yourself, you notice that it happens a little faster. So maybe the first time will take you 5 years.
Right.
Next time will take you 4. Next time will take you 3.5.
Right.
And then you'll notice that it starts becoming like a day-by-day thing. Like, oh, okay, last year I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Now I'm cutting you off. Yeah. So it's a cool observation in my opinion.
This turned into a whole therapy session on camera.
Yeah, that's how I do. That's how we do.
Well, I guess like one of my closing questions that I wanted to ask you is, if you had all of the support, all of the resources, and all of the funds necessary to achieve your dream, what would your life look like?
Ooh, screaming. I'm going to breathe on that question. That's a beautiful question.
I feel like sometimes we focus on what we don't have, and I think it's good to envision, like, if you had the things that you need, like, what would that look like for you?
It's crazy because I think whatever I'm doing, I don't want to say I think. I know what I'm doing right now is how I want to impact the world. But I think it's a matter of me wanting to touch people from a mental standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, a financial standpoint, a physical standpoint. Just so many, all the realms that we have to show up within this like 3D, 5D space. Like, I want to remind people that You can do and have literally whatever you want. You just literally have to put the time and space and energy into it. So I think, you know, with what I do, I'm already doing that. It's just a matter of how many people are seeing it every day. Yeah, 5 people might be impacted, but those 5 people might tell 2 more people, and those 2 more people might tell 1 person, and 1 person might tell 5 more people. So it's just like a constant cycle of sharing knowledge and sharing good energy. So that's just my intention.
No, I think that was beautifully put, and I couldn't have said that any better. I don't even know if I answered the question. It probably would be.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to know your answer.
It would probably be a lot similar, but when I think about the ethos of what I do, I really just want to empower people. I really want to deconstruct this word of failure because I really don't believe in it. I feel like there's no such thing. It's only like lessons in life, and I'm such a lifelong learner. Like, I'm always learning, whether it's books, podcasts, videos, a conversation with an elderly person, a conversation with a child. I just really appreciate knowledge, and I want other people to feel that freeing experience of like not being afraid to fail, like having courage to be themselves and be themselves loud, to like take up space and not worry so much about being perfect, but really just like falling in love with the process and the journey of becoming. And I call my podcast like an accountability community. That's what I like to call it, because
I like that.
I'm not trying to like lead nobody or steer nobody. I don't feel like I know any more than the next person. I really just want to encourage people to be accountable for their own lives and where they are. Like, when I look at other podcasters or other content creators that might be ahead of me, whether it's like followers or subscribers or whatever it is, I know that it's a product of the work that I put in. So it's like, what can I do more of? I know that I need to be more consistent. I know that I need to be more disciplined. So you can't be mad for work that you're not putting in. So I just want to challenge everybody to be real with themselves in that way. Like, let's all be real and let's fail forward together. Like, it's okay to mess up, but it's like, how do you dust yourself off and keep going?
Get
like,
yourself back over and try again.
That's what life is about.
I love that. That's love. That's love. I love what you're doing on this platform. I want to say thank you for inviting me on. It's so dope.
No, thank you for this collaboration. This was
we gotta
really
do that
dope.
again. Like, I want to do like a okay.
Or in Philly, we snap.
Oh, I don't know about that.
So, and then
I've never done that.
You never did?
Last
That's
time.
a Philly thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't show that to nobody else.
I'm like, they caught that on camera.